try and give us an insight and perspective into how far we are from actually seeing a solution to all this, to seeing an actual vaccine, an implementable one. Adar, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Very simple question. First and foremost, why is it taking so long globally for us to come up with a solution to this?
Yes, thank you, Abha. Firstly, we must manage people's expectations. Typically, a vaccine takes 6 to 7 years to actually come about and be launched and developed and go through all the clinical trials and studies that are required to prove its efficacy and safety. We're trying to narrow that down within 1 or 2 years. We're already into animal studies ourselves in the United States with this. But having said that, to prove efficacy, it still takes a lot of time, and people need to understand that. There's a lot of news going around, this can cure you, this can protect you. We need to be very cautious on the claims that are being made out there of what solutions will actually come about, and that needs to be proven with proper scientific, double-blinded, randomized studies, without which, we can't safely say that we have a solution.
As you said, we're trying to work around the clock to bring down the time and see a more efficient turnaround. How far do you think we are then from a successful vaccine?
I think with the combined efforts that the regulatory bodies are making, both in India and in other parts of the world, to fast-track procedures, I think if you have a proven candidate within 1 or 2 years, you can have a vaccine, and we're hoping to launch our vaccine in a year and a half. But I don't want to make any statements right now, like others are making, that they have potential solutions until we see the animal data. And if you ask me this question exactly 2 months from now, I can give you a more accurate answer on what our chances will be to have a vaccine ready. But I think the world, with its combined efforts, should be able to see a vaccine within 2 years from now.
When you're saying 2 years, we're all reeling from the uncertainty, the impact, the shock that this is bringing to the system. It's literally leading to a systemic collapse right now, given the shutdowns that we're seeing across the board, whether in India or abroad. In your experience, with all the insight that you have, I mean, if you're saying 2 years away for a vaccine in the near term, what is the potential solution? I mean, how do we track this from a healthcare perspective?
I'll answer that. Yeah. No, that's. I have a very straightforward answer for that. This is a realistic expectation that people need. Everyone needs to get on board with that. Now, having said that, what do we do with the situation that we're dealing with today? Now, I think that's your question. The answer is that this virus is here to stay, like H1N1 and so many others, which are bound to come in the future due to climate change and various other factors that are coming about. Now, if we come to grips with the fact that this virus is here to stay, we need to be able to live with that, go about our ordinary lives, and protect the elderly, yes, of course, which is where I think 80% of the cases have been occurring. And the mortality has been occurring in those sort of cases. But if you look at the deaths, if you look at the pre-existing health conditions which people have had that have then got this virus and then had the issues, including death, I think we need to analyze that. Having said that, the precautions the Modi government has taken has been fantastic. We have acted very fast and decisively. But for how long are we going to shut down people's livelihoods? My question is, what happens in 2 months from now, 3 months from now? Are we going to permanently remain at a state of panic and banning organizations from producing essential goods and services? I mean, this has to stop, and this is where we need to deal with the situation and understand this very important point that this virus is here to stay. In certain seasons, there'll be ups and downs like you have with H1N1. Whether a vaccine or a cure comes about, we have to deal with the fact that we have to continue normalcy and businesses. Yes, we can mitigate by reducing social gatherings, religious gatherings, so many other unnecessary things. But as far as businesses go, livelihoods, people's livelihoods are being destroyed at the moment, and we're more likely to die of bankruptcy than COVID-19, and that's the situation in reality today.
Okay, Adar, I take your point. I do understand what you're saying from a business perspective, from a livelihood perspective, and we'll explore that a little further in a moment. Just to also get a sense, you've talked again about the fact that it's a long drawn process. Are you in touch with global FDAs in terms of a more synchronized attempt? What kind of stage are we at in terms of everyone working together and collaborating on this? And is India prepared? Yes, we did hear some, reassuring remarks from the Prime Minister suggesting they're on top of the situation. But is our healthcare system actually prepared for an avalanche of cases, even if they're not fatal, but to actually administer healthcare?
I think we're doing what we can at this stage. What I could add as a suggestion that we need to rapidly increase, and others have even said this, that we need more places for quarantine and more places for testing. Today, people are afraid, even though they're showing symptoms. A lot of my friends have called up also. They don't know where to go and test and see whether they have it or not, and they could be infecting other people. I think we need to address testing, and we need to address more areas where people can be quarantined. And, we have acted swiftly, but perhaps we could have banned the international flights coming into India a bit earlier with a warning, allowing people 3-4 days. Because if you look at all the cases, they're all coming in from abroad. With our climate and with what's happening here, we've seen very few cases. But they're all coming in from abroad. We don't really know how many cases are there in India today. What is being reported is only due to whatever little testing we've been able to do. So to really get a proper idea of how the disease is spreading and what more we can do, we need to increase testing and quarantine areas which are safe, and people will want to and should want to go there. Today, people don't want to go to a typical government hospital where they feel they might, get some other diseases, get pneumonia, something else when they go in for a test.
And can the private sector do more here, Adar? Can we see a more calibrated attempt? Are they already doing more on ground?
I think the diagnostic companies, the private labs, I think they already started to collaborate well with the government. I think that's going on, and I think the faster we get that moving, the better it'll be for everybody.